Hi guys, how are you today? Hopefully you're having a good day. Today it's sunshiny outside, and considering that it snowed at my house yesterday morning,
Really?
4 inches.
Oh my gosh.
4 inches. And it was sunny this morning when I left my house. So, yay. So I'm always excited. I can't wait for it to start getting warmer.
Well, it's 55 right now outside. Let's take the 50s.
Yeah, I'm happy with a 50, at least this time of year.
Yes.
Okay, alrighty. So we're just going to kind of delve right in because if we don't, we will never get through this in an hour and a half. All right, guys. I did post about 2 hours ago the finalized product on the inside, so you will be able to see this coming up. If you even go on right now, you can watch and look at the pictures and take a look if you have to. Just remember that tablet or computer is going to give you a better image and it has a bigger picture, but you can't blow it up all the way to fit your full screen, but it may be easier to see in that on a tablet or a computer versus on your phone. Because even if you go and try and zoom in on your phone, the pixelation is there because that's how it's saved onto the computer, and they only give you a certain size. So here's our previous one, and I don't want to go through it all over again, but I do want to ask after watching. Hi Annette, and I'm running through. Hi Thelma, hi Annette, hi Brenda, hi Roberta. I think I saw a couple other people maybe, but I think that's everybody. Yes, great. Okie dokie. So I don't want to possibly miss you somehow.
8 in total, but just those ones chatting.
I'm sorry that you have a headache too, Annette. It makes it hard when you have longer days. So with our little booklet, I'm not going to go through and show you each page just because we're going to go through each page as we make them. So, but this is our cover. And then we've got all these. If you missed out on it last Wednesday or last Thursday, I've got pictures attached in this album. I'm going to show you more specifically about how to order your picture sizes so that they will fit what you'll want to. Yes, it is easier to see. I will be going through to show you in how our little patterns can fit almost any idea that you can have for making different size pockets. So we'll go over that a little bit. And I realized that I forgot to get a scoreboard. Can you grab me possibly one of those?
What color would you like?
I would prefer the small one, but I don't know where the small one is. So over here on the side of the machines themselves, there are some scoreboards, and we just may have to go with the big one to the side.
I have a smaller.
Perfect. That will work.
Well, one of these.
Yeah, it'll work.
Small purples. They have the right dimensions. That's inches. So that should get you.
Well, you know what? If it doesn't, here's the cool thing about Hunky Dory. Guess what? It has another side. So one is in centimeters. Centimeters? Yeah, centimeters. And the other one is in inches. So mine are not set to any type. I try and find where I want it to go on the line, and then we go from there. So if I forget to tell you where something is at on pages, just remind me, and Bryce is going to have to keep an eye on it for me in order to run through this. But I'm going to try and show you as much as possible where you're going to find each of your pockets. So if you want to go ahead and move it on down. No kidding, man. I'm taking the full hour and a half that I've got. There's just no other way around it. So we should have already done our cover piece. or if you had the opportunity to do your items from the first video last Thursday, we went over the cover and how to create the cover using 2 pages. We went over how to go through and do the backgrounds and the side areas. And this is one of those places where this is the place to ask you if you've had the opportunity to relook at it, or if you weren't sure last week of where they were or how to do them, just say, I need you to cover that really quick again. And I'm more than happy to. So we have our covers and our back cover that we did last week, along with how to do the pages on the inside. So I painted them, and then I promptly wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to forget any of the pieces and take them all home so that I could also put on all of my backing pieces, because we ran out of time going over the how-tos of it all. And if you see down in this little corner, I've got a little bit of the cardboard showing through. And up here, I've got a little bit of the cardboard showing through. Well, that's because, of course, they stuck together a little bit. And then I went, oh my goodness, it works so well with the farmhouse shabby chic idea that they already had. And so I'm just going to leave it. So I didn't correct anything. I thought that was totally on accident, but it turned out perfect. So I'm very happy that I was able to do what I was able to do with them. So was there, since I say have 2 girls and rest, I guess that I am missing, other than just Annette not feeling good. So, okay.
Oh, somebody else's legs were hurting, I think. It was Brenda.
Brenda, I'm sorry. Definitely.
She's going to watch from the TV in her recliner.
That sounds like rough work. But sitting and watching and enjoying this should never be a lot of work, right?
That's right.
And
relax.
And we are going to go through it pretty quickly. So if you, for some reason, need me to, just remember, you can always pause when we're not live.
Right.
But if there's a question, ask now, because I won't be able to necessarily answer it later. So as we go, I'll just do a really quick check-in. Does that everything make sense? Go from there. All right. So in your kit, you got your A4 of all the different types of pieces. I wanted to actually show you, because I set them off to the side and I told you that I would show them to you today for timeline. So these are what you get with your A4 part of the packet. And I've tried to put them in some semblance of order into the order that we're putting them in. So you'll have to go through and take a look and see what you need to find for each one. But I am going to try to remember to show you where to find them on each page, because if I pull up my packs have holes throughout each one of them. And I cut all of my pieces. This is only part of it. These are the ones that we're going to use, some of them. These 2 are 2 of the sections that I didn't use in this part, but I think that they'll make great little additions to your extra cards. Because let me tell you guys, you're going to have a nice amount of stuff left over. And what I like about these is the patterns on the back. They're a little bit smaller than the other patterns, but I used a lot of the background paper. I mean, I will let you know right now, I used as much as I possibly could out of those background patterns, because I wanted to be able, I didn't want to cut into one thing on the 12 by 12 regular sheets. They were just too pretty. So this is an area where you may end up finding that you need to expand into some of your backgrounds just to be able to use some of your pieces. But you should be able to make lots of 4x6s and even some 5x7s, European A6s. So I will guarantee that you will have some things in here that will definitely work. And now I just messed up my order. Here we go. All right. Set these off to the side. Now, last week I set the stuff off to the side and I came back on Monday and went, oh, please, Debbie, please don't have turned around and set something in it, because I set aside the paint last week and it got left there. So, and I had quite a bit of paint because I was worried about running out. And so I thought, oh no, it hasn't dried yet. And Debbie's just stuck something in it. Oh, I know it. Oh, I feel horrible. But nope, it was sitting where it was. So this at least won't be something that would possibly ruin something of Debbie's along the way. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to cut out each of your patterns. When I did this one, because this one is created to be long and wide, I moved some things over in your printouts. This was a printout that I did really quickly the other day to try and make sure that there was one that I wanted to make sure went out the door on the day that they ordered it. And so this one person may possibly have one that's a little bit shorter on this side and a little bit shorter down in here, like mine is. And it's really simple. All you're doing is extending it just a little tiny bit. And I'll show you the reasons why. But they're really easy to adapt and change into all different sizes for these pockets. So you're going to cut these out and you're going to put them onto some cardstock. Trace them out, cut them, and then use your measurements to make your lines. You can also use your scoreboards to make your lines in these. But I recommend having a nice thick cardstock in order to make your patterns with, just because it's a little bit easier to work with. So this is the first thing that you do when you get ready to start opening it up and doing more than the backgrounds. I'm going to have things everywhere today, guys. This is going to be so much fun. Okay, so our first one we are going to be using is this little guy right here. And it's so sweet and has so many cute things. Somewhere along the line, I don't know if it accidentally fell in the garbage can when I was moving things around, but something happened and I lost my little guy right here. I've looked on the floor, so I don't know. It's probably not here, but that's okay because I have another picture and I have it ready to go. So we'll be able to replace it. This has the two little small pockets, and I'm going to show you right now that if you want, this is the first thing that we're going to talk about with the pockets, because you need to know. If you want it to be a table type album, then I highly recommend that you not make thick pockets. If you want everything in your album to have cute little spots and cute little sayings or cute little cards, or maybe you might want to drop in here, I was able to come up with lots of things. Like, you know, since this is of my grandbabies, the little maybe a little bit of their hair with a ribbon tied around it, and tuck it into your bag, tuck it into a bag and slide it down in there with everything else. You can have a lot of pulls. I did give you about 1/4 of an inch height. If you want to use the height, just be aware that it will need to stay full in order to lay like this. If you want to give it and you want it to be something that will stand up and maybe sit on a bookshelf in an upright position, then you don't have to worry about it as much. But I wanted to show you the different opportunities that you have. to do these. So I would say that if you are going to give it as a gift to someone and you want them to have thick pockets to put more photos in it, or if you have photos that you're adding to it, just make sure that your pockets are completely full so they don't smush. You don't want to have them half empty or else they will. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So on our first page, we have those little pocket guys. And there are various backgrounds that we have. So I'm going to do this in a really simple way. Whatever you have left, you will have plenty left in order to make all of your pockets. So what I'm going to say is here is the background paper that you're going to use. This is in your background pack, and it looks like this on the back. So they each look different for what's on the back of the pack. So I will definitely do that. But on the pages, I need to kind of maybe show you more about, rather than just saying what's here on the back. Otherwise, it won't be easy for you to figure out. So it's harder to see anyways. So I have my blackberry background, which is different than your 12 by 12. So remember, you get a background pack of 12 by 12s, and then you get the regular specialty 12 by 12 packs. So there's a pattern and backgrounds pages, and then there's your specialty pages that are basically full, beautiful pictures. And of course, I haven't separated those out yet. Your specialty packs of the 12 by 12 specialties are going to be like this one, where they have the pretty pictures on the fronts. And so those are in here. You've got not this particular one because it's obviously still a whole page, but we used them throughout. So when we come to a section that has it as a background that we used here, it may also have something that we're using for these pockets. And I'll try and make sure that I cover that as well. So in your A4, you're going to cut out your little birdie here and your little birdie up here. And this one has this on the background. So just to help you out, that's where your birdies are. You've got your background berry paper, and this is where we're going to do our cutouts. So I'm going to go through that with you as well. There is a words section of the A4 pack, and in there you are going to be able to see, it's right here. Now I used words in just a few of the places in comparison to the sayings that are in, you'll see as we go, but I didn't cut out too many words. I did cut out joy, and that was it for this page. So we've got that his eye is on the sparrow, and I know he can't read this one upside down because it's cursive. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. And then we cut out joy for this particular one. So that's the first pocket. And the pocket that we used for, pocket that I used for this one is the 2 1/4 by 4 inch, 2 1/4 inch by 4 inch pattern. Use those blackberries, cut it out. And then what I did is that if you want to have it deeper, you have on your pattern a second fold line. So what this does is it allows it to fold thick like this. So you're going to do 2 score lines on top, on bottom, and on the 2 sides. If you want it thicker. If you want it thinner, then you're just going to, and I will tell you, it's a little bit faster and a little bit quicker because you don't have to have a line, oh no, I'm off of it a little bit. You can just do your score line right here. Just line up one of your lines to the corner, be right there in the corner, and just score it on down. And then take another one and put it, make sure you've got it lined up in a groove. So you don't even have to truly, oh, does it have to be this many, this far, this far? What you're really trying to do is get so that when you fold it, it's going to come in and fold top, sides and bottom. It's going to fold here. You're going to go the other way and you're going to find a line and just run it on through. So here I can see, all right, here's where my corner comes in, right here to right here, and you can't really see that as well. Here's my corner from right here to right here, and so I'm going to line it up here and run it down. So it makes it really quick and simple. If you do want the thicker envelope pocket section, then you can go anywhere in between here and the very end. You'll have to at least have a little bit fold over, or else you won't have it hold on to your background sheet. So if you do, you can go, I'm going to use my pattern piece just to kind of show you what I mean by that. I've given you good lines for you to have about 1/4 of an inch. If you want to, you can go just one line out. Make sure that it lines up. You can go one line out, and so long as you've got that one line, you can attach it to the back. It will give you a nice thick page, a nice thick pocket, but it's going to be really hard to keep it holding. So typically what I would stick to the lines if you want that deep pocket. However, you can just continue to cut this at an angle and just make it a little bit longer when you cut out your background. Does that make sense? So instead of cutting my background from here all the way around, I'm going to show you on this one because I have the rest of my pockets here for you too. And this is the most in-depth that I'm going about the pockets. And then from here, we'll just talk about some simple alterations to a pocket as we go. So I already made this pocket. That's okay. I can show you on this one. If I want a thicker, deeper piece, what I'm just going to do is I'm going to take, and my outline, if this was the piece that I was using for this, my outline would go the same down here on the bottom, but I would extend this portion out. And there's a couple of different ways you can do that. You can cut it straight with your cutting, your trimmer, or this is what I have done, and we're going to use it a few different times to change the sizes of our pockets. You can just move it off here to the side on this side, and then you can turn around and you can move it over here to this side. And now you'll have a nice deep pocket. So you can keep it, this will be your bottom here. This will be your two corners, and then this now becomes our two. See? When you start, look at how much wider you have. So you can then use your outer layer as your outer line, like this. And then just go ahead and use that middle one right here for your trimming. And you literally will just take your score lines and line up where it's going to meet the edges and the ends. If you aren't in one of those spaces, go ahead and move it a little ways, but you could make your pockets as thick as, I'm going to say here. So if I were to cut this out, I now have a piece that's going to join up and join up. And now look at how thick of a pocket I've got. So you can put a lot in here if you want to expand out your tabs. And it's just as simple as that. Now that I've done this, I was going to use this for something, but I think I'm going to have to grab an extra piece. This is for the back of my actual pictures when I go to slip them in. So I'll come back to that here in just a minute. So the other section that we used, or that I used, for the other pocket, I used on my sheets that came, I believe that this came in the, I think that these came in the actual 12 by 12 pack, but that's the background. It's this little house right here. I went through and I took my 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 and I just traced right around where I wanted it to be. Make sure that when you cut them that you find where on the page you want your picture to be. So this whole thing, keep in mind, is going to be down and folded. So I went all the way to the edge way down here so that I could have the most amount of the flowers poking through the top. So I centered it on my little house and I just trimmed right through here. To save time, I already have that one created. So I've done my score lines, and if you notice, it's not thick at all. I did a little tiny edge just because I wanted to make sure that I remembered to talk to you guys about the edges. But you can make it like what we're going to do with this one, which is completely flat. So once you do your score lines, whether it's going to be a little 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch, you guys get to decide. Just remember that the thicker your pockets, the thicker your book is going to be, and it's going to be a lot harder to close. So with this one, I just showed you that I've done a score line right in the corner because I'm not making this one any thicker. So I've just done my score lines right through here. Make sure this paper is not really thick, but it's also not thin. It can handle the weight of being a pocket. Just make sure that you kind of keep your cutting tool flatter, and just do it once, because with time you'll kind of wear that out. And I've already folded it and messed around with it a lot, just trying to make sure that I had everything the way that I was hoping that it would be. And so I just accidentally pushed the knife through a couple of those spaces. You will have enough left over of any of your papers if you do have a problem. The other thing that I want to have you think about, but we knew that with as much as I have to go on today, there was no way that I was going to be able to do it. And that is that you can make all your pockets ahead of time on more cardstock, and then you can just cut a face for it and just glue on your 2 1/4 by 4 inch face, and you can have it that way. But I wanted to use the actual papers all the way through to show you exactly how much you have, and we didn't want the costs to go up because we included more cardstock so you could make an option. So from here, for timing and timing only, I am going to go ahead and use my little bits of glue. Of course, my non-stainless steel pin doesn't help that I left it in there, but I really just didn't want it to come through. I highly recommend that you keep using your Eileen tacky glue, because especially if you're going to put pictures and things in here and they're going to have moving parts, you want to make sure that you are going to have the weight for it to handle. So if you just glue it right there, for me, I had to hold this one because I used the Eileen's tacky on this one, but for time saving, we're going to use just a little bit of glue for today. Hold it down just for a little bit. It should be able to handle that. And then I'm going to go through and I'm going to hang both of my pockets. And Bryce headed out the door to go to the post office for all the orders. So bear with me if I miss some of your questions. Now, of course, this was working last night at my house, and now it's not today, because that's, just the way that it goes. And my phone, look at that. Sorry, guys. So in hoping to be able to get through this a little bit faster, I was really hoping that I could do it with the other glue, but I'm going to wipe it just to make it a little bit of a faster process for us. I think I like my fast moving one a little bit better. I'll have to remember to keep it on its side so that I can get it out quickly from here. Okay. So first things first, I want to try and give it enough space. And you can go over your area of binding right here it's not going to be this binding is for structure, so it's going to handle it just fine so that it doesn't wear off. It's not going to tear. So it's okay to go further over if you want to. In this particular case, I wanted to because I've got just such a cute little bird right here that this is where I'm going to put my little saying right there. So far, I did not pay attention to in either time that I cut to make sure that my bird was there, but in each one, that's been the case if I have used a side of one side or the other of your background papers. So you should have a bird in there somewhere in the middle. It may be up here, it may be down here, but then you can choose where you want your saying to go. And in reality, it is not necessary to have the bird and the nest right there in sight. I tried using my glue, and last night it worked just fine. I practiced like 3 different times to make sure that it would work in theory, so that it would dry quicker. But we're just gonna do a little bit more messiness, but that's okay. So I could even put this saying here, but just for making sure that I do it the same each time, because I've already shown you the book. I'm going to try and stick as close to it as I can, so then that way you won't go, hey, what happened here? Or why doesn't this look like the picture? Okay, so remember we have our two little birds from the sheet. And here's our backgrounds to that sheet, just in case. Again, it's going to be one of those little fun, put the little bird on it. Since you are here, can you grab mine that sits upside down so that it comes out faster? Or else it's in, yep.
Good, but you didn't put it upside down.
Oh, I didn't?
Not in your
bag. Maybe I didn't want it to possibly leak on the way out the door.
That might have been.
Okay. So this little one, see how cute it just sits? And I just slid it upright so that I could get as many of the little pretty flowers around it. And the next thing that we're going to talk about on this first page is how to use your photos to where you can order them and have them show up. And be in the right size so that you don't have to fight them too much. So, all right, so there's our two little birds, our little saying. And now, this next piece is a little one that says home on it. And it is on this sheet in your A4s. So it'll look like this. The sheets really do look different, so it's going to be really simple. This is the only one I think that actually used its name, which is Sparrow Hill, in its paperwork, in all the papers. So look for this shape tag. This one also has our bigger tags on it. So the little home is right there. So that's the one that you'll cut out. I took the joy that I showed you in the words and I cut that one out, and then I put it onto this tag. So this one's going to have the thankful for every moment on it. You'll be using this one in your pack, this one in your pack, this one, and this one. So those are all in this next little set along with some of the buttons. So if you decide now that you want to pause it and cut these out of this sheet, we can do that. Bye, Kat. Since I gave you a whole bunch that you can cut out all at once. I took some of my blackberry for the blackberry side, and I cut it off tall because I knew that it was going to be a little tall, and I knew that I cut it a little crooked. So let's see if it fits now. Yep, not a problem. Okay. This way and this way. Yep. All right. So we know that we don't want it any higher than the book. Can you guys see that okay? I can move it closer. Sorry. You know you don't want it any taller than the book. So this is how I handled these things. Just cut it off where you want. I also then took my joy that I glued onto that little label piece, and I made the decision that I didn't want to have to worry about all these little pieces. I just got the wood cut around. You could leave it there on the bottom. You can cut it off. It's totally your call. That kind of makes it look nice. And it's just a little bit wider than the paper itself. So I'm going to go ahead and trim it down a little bit more. The nice thing is that with these parts, it's not as imperative that I have to hold it firmly like the pockets. So plan on this taking a little bit of your time, just because the dry time, to give it the strength that you want it to have. It's okay. Just take the time to hold them in place. If it's just little stuff, so these pockets, I'm not quite as worried about because I'm keeping all of these flat for this example. And now is the time that we talk about photos. So I ordered mine from a retail store here locally, and so I don't want to say that I did it at one place or the other, and maybe you guys don't have it, although I know that you probably do in our area, but in any of the areas. But if you go in, you can have some 1-hour photos taken, printed. Be aware that right now, it always used to be I could order and I would have 1 hour later, I would have photos. But ever since COVID, I just think that they haven't been, people weren't in as much of a rush, and there haven't been as many employees, workers. So I found out that where I got the photos done, their machine had been down for 2 weeks. So if you do want to plan doing this, find out who can offer you the 1 hour, or do it ahead of time enough before you're ready to try and put this together, before you actually will need it for a gift or for something that you want to make for yourself. I printed out, and you get a choice of 2 wallets on a sheet. So I printed out 2 wallets on a sheet because I knew that I wanted to make some of these little pockets. And obviously, my little pockets are going to be narrower than the wallet. But if I hadn't have ordered it in a wallet, I would have had to have had little tiny feet in in a really big picture in the background. And then, of course, if you trim it down to this wallet size, you will see pixelation if you try and do that. So when you are taking pictures, if you're doing pictures and you know you're going to do an album with your pictures, that's your goal behind it, or a scrapbooking piece, give yourself time to be able to take those little close-ups that you have, so that you can put them in your albums if you want a littler pocket. Littler pockets also are great for those time periods that you maybe want to make sure that you have enough space on your paper to be able to see one of your pictures. Like, I'm going to show you a way that you can cut down on things a little bit on the next page, so that your picture fits, so that you can still see some of your backgrounds. So here is my little toesies, and I'm not going to attach them to this one. And the reason why is just because this is for the office, and I'm sure that they will not necessarily all see my kids' little feetsies. I'll ask Debbie just in case in the future. I'm just going to tuck them in, and but normally you should have your own pictures in there, of course. Oops. Sorry, guys, just dropped something on the floor. Okay. So my piece of paper that I said earlier that I have now created some bins and folds, that's okay because I don't need anything fancy for here. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and use it as we go. Now, because I know that this is 2 1/4 on the front, I'm going to want to take and cut this down to approximately 2 1/8 so that it can slide in and out easily. Does anybody have any questions while I do some of the cutting and things? Because this is the perfect opportunity to ask. So this piece that I chose it because it is a leftover of all of your other parts within your packets. It's the one that has this hashtag background, and it says "Welcome to our nest" on it. And I believe that it is I think it's the basket one, if I recall right. And I'll try and point it out to you as we go through. So I really did try and use the sections that I'd already used as my backgrounds for my book in order to be able to use them in order to be able to use those instead of using something different and cutting into other papers. If I used what I could so that I could spread this as far as I possibly can, and I'm going to show you what I have left over when I'm done, and you will be amazed. I mean, I think you'll be amazed. I shouldn't just assume that you will be amazed. Now I noticed that this was a little snug, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it down a little bit narrower. And it could be that when I cut by hand like this and I'm trying to do it quickly, I do not cut straight. So there's that. And so on Little Miss Emma's picture, I went and I actually cut more into this than I did. I'm going to pull it out of this one just so that I can show you. I cut as close to the top of her little head as I possibly could. I didn't want to cut her head off too much there because I've cut her head off in a few other of the pictures later on. So I just barely grazed the top of that. And then I took and I cut right here along the bottom. So I really did try and keep it as narrow as I could. Yeah, I don't do a straight cut ever. That's why I have a trimmer. But for now, and due to time availability, because we've got a lot of stuff to cover, I figure it is a good idea to just kind of talk about what we're doing and that you get the right idea for me to do this from start to finish versus be straight. That's my opinion of the whole thing anyways. And then on this little home one, with this little home one, I just took and I put it like this inside my pocket. So I've now taken my bookmark, if you want to call it a bookmark, tucked it inside, and now I'm just going to take my home and move it all the way down. Keep in mind, it's going to go this far. So if you look at the back of my little bookmark that I have, I've actually got two separate layers on this one because I had wanted to make sure that I gave the picture an entire back, and I hadn't done it. So in here, you're going to actually put your picture over the top. So for this little guy, I tucked away my picture too soon. For this little one, I'm going to take and I'm going to put my feet up above that little thread. So I want it to say home. I want it to have her little feet in there, but I moved it up above that little bow. And when you when you glue this on, you will find, oh wait, my glue might be ready to go. I want to take and I want to cut the top off just right where the roof line hits. So I've made my length, put it in, cut it to the top of my little line of the background, come in here and come up to the very top as I possibly can. Put that little section down. Line it up, And then right here along the edge, I'm just going to take and cut here and cut here. I will say that I've gotten a little bit better about feeling comfortable with cutting. I just happen to know that when I do cut with bigger scissors, I tend to angle out at the very end of my cut. And it's got to be something probably to do with my left-handedness and nothing more. Because I do cut with my right hand, but being left-handed, it kind of, I think that I kind of maybe turn inward a little bit or outward a little bit because of that. So here's where I'm just going to take and put this one in here. And I'm going to take and put this little one right here. Then we'll just tuck them right up on inside. And that way I'm not accidentally trying to put two different pictures in the same spot. So I took my other one out of my old one. So then that way that's the end of that page. So there we go. So wallets covered. Pocket. Okay. This piece says begin each day with a grateful heart. This is the hash marks that are on the back of it. And in this particular case, it is right here on the very front of your A4. And that is all that is going on the front of this page, just because the page itself is so pretty. I'm going to set this off to the side since we're done with that one. The page itself is so pretty that I didn't want to cover up anything, and I had to decide, do I want to cover up the bird or do I want to cover up the teacup? Bird, teacup, man, this is really tough. So the wrong person to have that conversation, right? So what I did is that I found a background paper with a whole bunch of birds on it, and I covered up this section of my pocket with the last one. So this is what I've done. This pink paper with the birds on it is one of our background page papers, and you will recognize it from the up and down of the purple that we have on a different page. So in other words, this side of the paper is not shown anywhere in any of our pictures, in any of the rest of the book. So again, not only did I try and go about it in ways that would give us different viewpoints of the same paper, because you don't want to waste some of that beautiful background paper, really, truly. I just didn't want to. So in this particular case, my pocket, I did not want it to be as big as a 6 1/4 by 4 1/8. Like this big one is. I only used that in one place. But since it is a bigger one, and the bigger you get, the more precise you should have your measurements. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but you can't cut it down any smaller, right? If you make a mistake. So for these, I saved the 6 1/4 and just used it for a 6 1/4. Instead, I went the opposite direction. And this is where we're going to talk about using your, we just did it on talking about depth and how deep you want your pockets to be, but now I'm going to use it as I want my pocket to be a little bit bigger, not necessarily bigger wide, but I wanted it to be taller. And a portion of that had to do with the fact that, yes, it's so cute for my little two babies, her little head poking out the top, but it also felt like it didn't look quite right when I did it at this low. So I wasn't really thrilled with having it look like that for this picture. I felt like it was not quite the best fit. So instead, I made my pocket taller. And why not? Because I've got this entire little bird that I can cover up, and I still have pretty little birds. So I knew that I wasn't losing out. So what I did, and this is how you go about in doing these, and I will flip it around so that it's easier for you guys to be able to see. I went and I took my piece, and I knew that I'm going to start it at the very top, and I'm going to go here and here, and then I went ahead and I marked right here so that I knew where a side was, and right here and a side. And then I slid it down. So then that way I knew where I was lining it up at. I had my line on the outside and my line on the inside. So I just slid down, and you can see you'll come across your little lines here, and you just follow those lines all the way down. And then you mark here and all the way around. Okay, because you want these sides to be long. So you're not going to cut, in like what you just saw here and cut in right here. I just had forgotten to make it longer when I was using to set up my pattern. Because I was working off of pictures, because I left the photo album here for you guys to be able to see it again yesterday. So instead I had to slide, and I had to remember what I had done with this piece and if it was tall enough or not tall enough. So you want those sides all the way up to the top. So since I know that this is where my bottom part goes, I just want to make sure that my little picture is going to fit in here nicely without too much poking up over the top. And that looks pretty good. I think I want to put it down just a little bit lower. So I'm going to have a shorter little bottom, but again, if I don't have a great big, if I don't have a big pocket, thick pocket, I've got a little bit more leeway to have a little bit of a workaround. The majority of the rest of my pictures, except for two, I printed out at the photo. They call it the photo size. It's what your camera naturally takes, and so it actually gets you the right aspect ratio between them, and it's called a photo.
Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Catherine. Let me take a look here and give you the exacts. It's a 3 7/8 by, I think it's 5 1/3. It shows that it's 3 3/8. Yes, 3 3/8. Or 5 3/8, excuse me. So it's a little bit shorter, but it gives you the actual correct picture size for a digital camera. It used to be that everything was made in 4x6s because a regular camera, from what I understand from my husband, who has done pictures for a very long time, I don't take pictures, or at least I claim I don't take pictures, because I'm always worried that my hand's going to shake or I barely miss it and I don't get the picture. And my husband does a far better job at it than I do. So you'll want to have your pocket reflect what size of picture you're actually going to put in it. Now that seems like common sense, right? But when you're putting in your ordering, it has to be an intentional order. So I'm getting right into that corner where score line is. That will line up with the end of my pocket. It's not always about the inch, but if it's an inch size or a non-inch size, it's about how big your surface area is going to be. So I just want to make sure that this fits in okay. Yes, it does. And remember I said I was going to do this a little bit short, a little bit longer. And I think right there looks good. So I'm taking my glue, just since it is very little on this corner, because I did lengthen it up a little bit. You don't want to put too much glue there. So just start with a little bit or none.
A little bit more.
A little bit more. Hold it down for a little bit. If anything that I want to remind you of that I had to remind myself about when I was doing all the backgrounds on to the actual page is make sure that you get in there with either, you can use a brayer, you can use your hand and just get out any of those ripples and bubbles, or else they will pop up and show. So a brayer is very handy for that. The little candle tops with the felt on them, that's another good one. Okay. So from here, what I did for her is I did it a little bit I still, again, I really liked the paper, but the photo didn't fit quite right. I didn't like where it was sitting. I played with it a few different times and I just wasn't thrilled with what I had. So I had cut it down quite a bit to let it fit onto here like that. But this particular case, I'm going to do something a little bit different. And my goal is to try and get it more towards the head being down as far as it can. Here, I left a little area around it, and I think that that will make a difference in how I want it to be seen. So we'll see. Never know. So I took down. You don't need to see all that hand anyway there. You can tell that she's holding her. I mean, just the joy of her being able to see her little cousin and get to hold her. She was just so excited. And then your goal is to try and cut around to outline it. And the reason why I did that was, again, I didn't, here in my background, I didn't like what was there. I don't even remember why, but I think that that's cereal. Yes, it's Chex. It's a box of Chex Mix. Chex cereal. So it just happened to be nearby. As you can see from PJ's, this was first thing in the morning. And so I thought, well, how much fun that it would be to just make this more 3D than not. Get that rounding. There's no rights and wrongs. If you guys want to put a whole picture there, you're more than welcome to. But I really liked how I could see more of the picture, and that's it. That's the only difference that I made. I made this a little bit taller, and I didn't make it quite as narrow. I made my paper a little bit wider in the pocket, so it does show a little bit different than before. But I like how it turned out this way more so. So, okay, so I do a little bit of tips and tricks that change things, but hopefully it's similar enough that it makes sense. You might even be able to, if you wanted to, pull this off to the side, and then you could put a little saying here, or you can write a little bit of information. If this is a book that I wanted to give to Emma and Lily for later in their lives, I could totally see being able to put a little caption on it, or say cousins love at first sight. I mean, you can do so many fun things with this. So in the pocket it goes. And initially when I did make this pocket, it was a little bit narrower as well to fit that narrower page. And that's why I changed it up a little bit in general. You still see her head a little bit, but not much. saying right there on top. Glue is such a wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm.
And because you're working with pictures, I truly would use glue. I wouldn't use Zots or double-sided tape, whether it's finger lift or whether it's the little tape runner thingies. I wouldn't use that for these because I've found that pictures pop off after just a little bit of time. They need that extra glue. Were you going to say?
I was going to say your glue bottle's on the way.
Oh. Oh. So. I'll try and move them to the left. Just everybody remember I put them to the left. So that's the next page. And this one we flip over and move right into the next section. Have to remind myself of which is what. So here's our background page. I went through and okay. This one, I use the words family is everything off that word page that I've shown you. This one I had to get a little creative on, but you will never know that it took this much creativity. Yeah, that's what I think anyways. What I had to do was, because of how I set up the cutout on this page, I needed to be able to, I really wanted to use these pretty flowers. I didn't want to lose them. And so I wanted to kind of create a pocket. And because I've got most of this is in the two folds, this line, the only place that you're ever going to see any of the lines on this is right there. So what I did was I took a piece of paper, as you can see, I slid a little bit of it in, and then I did my pattern right around it. And this is another one of those four and 3/4 by 3 1/4. And if you had cardstock, you could totally cut it and then just put your flowers on the front. And that would be easier. But I definitely wanted to just kind of keep it simple. So I did the same type of thing where I wanted to extend out my pocket just a little bit. So I did my trace and then I slipped it down just to give it that little bit of extra. So then that way my fold line would be down in here where you wouldn't see it behind my little piece of paper. So because I used this as my as my focal point, I went ahead and I glued it on right here, right now. Because I felt like, oh, this will be the time that I will accidentally mess it up and I won't be able to show you guys what I did. So right here, right now, here comes my stabilizing piece. And it won't affect your pocket. I will tell you that much. And these flowers are on the opposite side of the birdcage picture. And that birdcage picture comes from the one with all the typewriter pieces that has the ABCs on it in the typewriter. Okay. Hopefully I got that up high enough. Not quite. Glue. See, this is another reason for glue. I would not make this pocket thick just because of this. If you want to have a thicker pocket on this one, then you'll want to do that. You'll want to do that with the cardboard background instead. Cardstock, not cardboard. So this is in your, I believe that this was your backgrounds paper as well. This is the one that has the typewritten on the backs, the typewriter word letters and the bird cage. But the way to also look for it is that it's the front. It's the very first page in the pack. Oh, here. I looked like this. And yes, it is part of the patterns paper, background pattern paper.
Roberta says you've done an amazing job with this kit. She's learning so much from it. You're a crafty cookie girl. Irene says, I just
cookie or kooky?
Well, either one might have fit, but
I'd say kooky.
Irene says she loves the shabby chic look, such gorgeous paper. Don't think you can really make a mistake with any of the papers.
No, you really can't. I agree with that statement. The papers are all a lot of fun. I really did try, guys. I took my time with each page and I went, okay, what can I match up the best with this? What can I do with this one? What will I get the most out of? So I did those pretty intentionally just because I wanted us to have a really good success and not have it be to where you even had enough to have other papers. See? And you'll never know that there was a little trick there. Yes, that is my phone. Sorry, guys. Okay, so mine is going to go on right. This is one of those times where you're going to be covering up a little bit of your picture, but I think that it works really well. I really do. I used a little bit of that leftover paper on, it's one of the back sides of one of our prints, background papers, patterns. I ended up using it here because with going through and actually looking at all the different things that we had, I realized that I had a few of these that I had little sections cut out of. And so I was able to use one that just had half a picture, and I used that as one of my bindings on this page. And it makes it really just join all together quite nicely. So I think I'm going to keep that right down there. So a gluing we will go. Hopefully whoever is trying to call me will remember that I'm on camera right now. People usually intentionally call me I don't give my phone number out very frequently to sales or anything like that. Every once in a while they'll get it, but since it's a cell phone, I'm less likely, I think, to get some of the stuff that a lot of other people get. Now, my husband, he gets a lot more of those extra calls because he's the main breadwinner of the household. So his phone number is the phone number that, yep.
Yeah, that's Debbie gets all the calls. I don't get any.
The sales calls.
Yeah.
Hi, we'd like for you to apply for this. Hi, we'd like for you to apply for that. I'm sure she loves you for it.
Yeah. She gets hang up calls and all kinds of stuff. I don't get any of it.
Okay, right here.
Here's Mary R.
Hi, Mary R. Hey, we're just glad that you were able to join us, and you can always watch on the next. You can always watch later and catch up because this is a lot of fun, guys. I really do. I was really nervous about doing this to begin with. This is taking on a lot for a Thursday class, and let's face it, definitely slower than Debbie is. So definitely was nervous about being able to do these things, but I was so happy and pleased with the outcome. I'm not going to say that it was too horrible. As it kept going, I'm like, oh, I really like that. Oh, I really like this. And then I was really excited that I wanted to be able to show it. Okay, so here and holding for a little bit. While I'm holding this down in all four corners, I'll use my hand for this side. So here is my family is everything. And I'm going to put it right onto here. I can either put it in here, flowers on each side. I really felt like not showing the full circle in there was a good idea just because it would then look like it didn't really belong. So not going to glue that now though, because I got to finish holding this. The other one is that this is one of the little pieces to the background that has the blackberries with the little pictures of blackberries with birds. So if this helps you out at all, it's white with white writing on it everywhere. It is one of the leftover pieces to this page. So it's the page right across from the book. You'll see it a little bit later, but I took what I had left of that one. I cut out the little bird with some blackberries on it. And so then I had this little piece left over. And because of that, I'm now going to take it and I'm using it as my backup piece for this. So if I didn't have the bird that I cut out, then I probably would have a little bit extra, but because I did cut out the bird and I wanted to use the bird where it was, I made the decision that I can just cut along the edge and the side, and I can just glue just that little tiny bit against the photo, and it still will have a nice, good adhesion, and I can pull it, and I think that it will look just as nice. So that's what I did with this photo. And in fact, since I've got a guideline to cut straight, this pocket ends up being that 4 3/4 across. So long as you have a smaller piece of it, you'll be good. So here, poor poor Emma. She got cut off everywhere. She had her hair cut off. She has half of her shoulder cut off. But when you have two pictures, when you have two little ones and one's a little bit littler than the other one, you have to kind of get a little creative with your cuts. So again, this is one of those camera ratio pieces. It's not a 4x6. Oh, there went the crooked. And I think that should about fit. Oh, look at that. Exactly.
There you go.
That never happens. Okay, we can celebrate this one there, Bryce.
A win.
Yay! So what I did was I took it and I put it on the side. Like that. And because this little tiny piece was cut out, I'm just going to take it away. So on this particular item, I'm going to glue it onto the top. And then before I truly decide how much to cut off the top or how far to slide it, I want my picture to hide down inside so that you're just pulling it up. So this is going to absolutely hide inside, but you want at least that much of it poking up so somebody realizes that it's something that you are going to pull up. Otherwise, it blends in so nicely with the picture that you don't know that you're supposed to be pulling up on it. So this would be where I would attach this photo to here. And I would attach it right along in there, and then it will stick up. Got to figure out how much is going to be truly sticking up if I had them glued. I think that it sits right about like that so that you can see it. And even then, I would say that you can usually, on any of the pockets that I've shown, you can probably fit in 2 pictures. I really do think that you can, so long as you use the right size. So in this particular case, this is probably, I'll just use my other example since they're both the same size. And so see, it just barely is poking up. So you notice the difference just because of the coloring of the paper is a little bit different, but that's it. And by now you've been able to have the people that you've made these for realize that this is an interactive album. Yes. So now that I don't have to hold the pocket down any longer, I can put this on the front as well. And so there is our last piece.
Cute.
Now, so that means that we have our front birds. This is what was on the back. This is the bird cage. So now we're moving on to a new page.
You're at an hour and a half.
I'm at an hour and a half. I was afraid of that. There's just so much to add in with these guys. Unfortunately, it takes some time. If you guys are okay, if you guys want to head on out the door at any point in time, I totally understand. I'm going to keep going so that you guys can play this back whenever you want to. I think that I found that seems to work really well. So that's what I did. So you guys can head on out. It certainly will not hurt my feelings. I knew that we were going to be really pushing it. So if anyone wants to say good night, and otherwise stay tuned or put a pause here so that you can come back and start up again tomorrow. So for these pictures, I did 4x4s in the printout. So you got these little 4x4 pictures instead of some of the other sizes. And the goal is that I decided that I wanted to make my pocket come out from the side. So that's exactly what I did. And because of that, this looks smaller than you think it does. But again, it's just that 4 3/4 by 3 1/4, and this one you're actually going to cut to the exact size. And where did I put my little score knife? There it is, underneath so many more things. So we want to take and put up our right there at that corner. You can see it with each one. By now, you should be getting really adept at gluing these little pockets and doing your score markings. You don't, as you can see, you don't even really have to measure. This one, because of its width, I didn't fill it in all the way because it goes to the side. I don't have to hold down all of my pieces. It's a different kind of a pocket, so it's going to look a little different and it's going to hold up a little different. This is no longer, you have to worry about something being held by it because it's just a side piece. So it's actually the other pieces that will give it its strength, and its length will be plenty of length. There we go. That wanted to be a little tricky. And I just want to make sure that I give myself enough space for being able to tuck them in a way. So I just want to make sure, yep, both of them are going to fit very nicely in there. And if I remember right, let me see how much I left as part of the parts. Sorry guys, I'm going to have to lift this. Of course it glued right on down. I needed to move it over just a little bit because I want my little pieces to be seen out the side. And what I mean by pieces on the side is just right now. And I got distracted and I forgot to tell you where this piece of item comes from. This is a leftover piece. I believe that it's from one of our big full pictures, if I remember right. So this is one of the specialty 12 by 12s, and it is there it is. It's actually on the bottom of this heart picture. So the heart picture was right up here that you cut out. And then I've cut my pattern from this piece right here. It goes up just slightly with that cup, and you're just taking that picture and moving it on down next to it. That's part of the reason why it fits so nicely together. You will have a portion of this cup as well as your little bird right here left very nicely in a 5 by 7 size. And I think that I've said this before, but maybe I haven't. The Ciao Bella has, I think, some of the best packaging ever. It's a thicker plastic, it's malleable, it's not stiff and likely to split. It's so easy to put things in and out of that paper. I mean, those packages. I love them, and I will continue to use them. Okay. So for these two little girls on their slide, they're about the same age. I love this picture. They're about the same age. It was not intentional that I took both of their pictures. It is a much bigger picture that I condensed down to this size. So again, this gives you that example of being able to have a bigger picture that you can cut down. So I cut it down digitally and then had it printed up in a 4 by 4. Ten times stronger. Lots of rain. Wow, guys, that's amazing. It sounds like that's a good outcome for something that could look a lot worse in thunderstorm, hurricane weather. I didn't used to mind thunderstorms too much as a kid, but I went camping in South Dakota, and we had thunderstorms. It was in the middle of the summer, and there had been a little fir tree of some sort not too far from where our campsite was. And when I mean not too far, I mean literally like maybe 15 feet away. And lightning came down after the thunder went, or is it the opposite direction? I guess it's the thunder lightning strike. So anyways, it was very, very close to where we were at. Fortunately, we had a lot of water and we had enough stuff that we were able to bat out the fire. But if it had not happened during the day and it had happened at night, we wouldn't have seen it. So, and of course, if there's thunder showers and thunder clouds, the likelihood is that it's going to rain, and that will also help put out your fire. But I have never liked thunderstorms since. This is off of our page that it's one of the background pattern pack, and it actually comes, these two sections come from this sheet of paper from our pattern packs. You don't have to stay, honestly. I will try and keep track of things, but I know that you've got dinner that you make, and I didn't want to put you on the spot.
No, nature called.
Oh, okay. More on the spot, I guess.
Yeah.
Sorry. I just want to let you know. I can probably turn off the camera if you need me to at any point in time.
I'm sure you can. Just pull the plug.
I mean, click the right buttons, and you don't have to stay if you don't want to. Okay, so I'm just going to take, and this little guy is from the A4, the round pieces that I'm going to attach are actually this piece of paper right here. So we've used this piece and this piece now. And I think that's this piece and this piece. I think that's it on our papers for this page. I could be totally wrong and forgetting something along the way, but I took one paper, and I made it smaller than the other because I want this to kind of sit down and in. And then I want the other one to stick out a little bit further. So same spaces of paper as far as in the pocket. See, in the pocket. Of course, in the pocket when it's not on the sheet is a lot harder to tuck in. So I'll want to make sure that I have this pull out come far enough, but this other one needs to be just a tiny bit bigger so it doesn't settle down and back and behind too far. So when I'm looking at cutting this, I want to cut this. We're going to give it, and this is the perfect example of when I said that we're going to, that you should be able to fit 2 squares in. This is one of those times that we can fit 2 in and still be completely flat. Yeah, I think about there is still good size lengthwise. And then my depth is a little bit deeper. And then when I cut out the circle, my goal was to get this outer edge completely broken down to, yes, it's a circle, but then right here, the flowers stuck out a little bit. On this side, they didn't. They had created part of it to be a little bit more 3D than the other. So I just cut with this piece bigger, so then I can attach my bigger piece of paper. So you don't get to see the pretty paper on this side because it's going to be behind a picture anyways. So in this case, it's really just being used to be a pull tab for this piece. You could just create a different pull tab for it, and that's fine too. And then you'd have this other piece to use for something different. But for my intents and purposes, this is how I use that one circle piece. Make sure that your pockets are going to stay upright because that's going to be good to have. And make sure that your tab doesn't sit any further out than the edge of your book. So those are how you decide your bottom picture. And Emma is a little bit bigger than Lily's picture because I had to cut her down a little bit more and she's a little bit more rectangular than square, to try and make sure that I fit her in with all of her fuzzy head, her little fuzzy head, because she had fuzzy fine night hair, and that hair is just, you don't want to miss that. I didn't cut it any closer because you don't want to miss that. That was my favorite part about her getting on the slide. And even when she had a bigger slide that was, one of those ones that little tykes that you this was a little tyke as well, but it was little. And then as she got a little bit older, we got her a bigger one that you climb with little circles and things, and you climb all the way to the top, or you had a ladder in the back, or you had footholds. It was kind of fancy. Yeah, her hair, she would crawl through the hole to get to the slide, and the hole had a cover on top so that it would stay dry up on the top, and you could survey the land out from where you were at. And she loved it, but what it always did was it also gave her static because it's made with plastic, just like the seat was. And so her little hair, even when she was
Albert Einstein
older, until it got much longer, even older, it will still stick up little bits here and there. Ha. I may have not been holding that little piece down long enough inside. So let's test that theory. There, that should lay it down flat. Okay, let's try it again. It really, by lifting it up, I think I probably ended up making a mistake in there, guys. I will have to take it apart and re-put it together. But you guys get the gist. Glue it only down once. Make sure you glue it down once. Okay, and then this one, we want it to be a little bit smaller, but I wanted more of the tab to actually show, so it sat on the outside of the picture, and then my picture sits in between, and I still have to cut hers down quite a bit in order to make this one fit. I wasn't sure how much to cut because I didn't have the pocket together. There we go. And then in this case, I think I still ended up deciding that I was going to put it in a little bit differently, just because of it looks so pretty with the paper out. But if I go like this, then you can't see the slide as much. So what to do. So I'm going to give it the sturdiness that it needs, and so I'm going to put it in between, but it still gives you a really pretty picture, I think. I made the other one not quite as tall and a little bit wider, but I felt like I was taking away part of the picture here, so I thought that I would do it a little differently this time around, and my prep cutting kind of changed things around for me this time. Okay, we'll put them on this way. Still gives you the strength. Hi, Kimar. How are you? I think that I just saw that it's pretty crooked off the back end. So this week, Sunday, I asked Emma if she wanted to do Easter like everybody else does Easter, and it was raining, and it didn't seem like a lot of fun for a kid for Easter anyways. And so I thought, well, what can I do differently that is something that still needs to be done around our house? I mean, needs is loosely fitted here when you find out what I did. But I went through and I asked her, do you want to go and do something around the house? Maybe we can do a little bit of Easter stuff in the house. And keep in mind, 3/4 of my stuff is still packed. It's a really slow process when you haven't really taken time past the first week of moving. After that first week of moving, I haven't taken a lot of time to. There's been 10,000 other things that have been happening that had a little bit of stuff to do. So I have a lot of stuff that isn't unpacked yet. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So I'm behind on my timeline that I thought that I was going to have. And so I said, or do you want to go pick up chicks? Mm-hmm. So Emma and I decided we were going to go pick up chicks. And
right after Grandma's heart.
Yes, she is. Oh, she was excited. We're going to have the chicks. She was so excited. And then I said, okay, well, so we're going to just get a few chicks because I wasn't sure how big the little, I got a trough because I knew we were going to need a trough anyway. So I got a big steel trough like you would see in one of the feed stores, or what people are doing a lot of their gardens in now.
Yeah.
And so I thought I'm going to need one anyways at some point in time. And so I went through and I am gluing in behind the glue bottle again. And so I went through and I decided, well, I'll just do it in the trough. It'll help keep things clean and sanitary, and I can just rinse it out when it comes time, and this will be perfect, which it has been a good choice. I'm glad that I did it. But I knew what size I was buying, but that still doesn't mean that you really truly understand what that looks like when you put chicks into it. So my 2 requirements that I had for a house had nothing to do with the house itself. It had to do with the land. I wanted a little section of pasture, and I wanted to be able to have enough space for a garden and goats and chickens. That was my list. That was it. Everything else, I figure, hey, I've worked at remodeling before. I can do pretty much anything else that's out there, but I can't change the land. Right?
Fair statement.
So, I mean, I could a little bit change the land, but not really great. And so, so we went down and we picked out 5 chicks. 5 chicks. Okay. And then I got to seeing how many different kinds of chicks Wilco had. Oh boy. And I knew that we wanted some specialty chicks anyways, but yep, that made it lay right down with using that ruler. So good. I'm glad that I made that decision. And so I looked, and then each week there are different chickens that get delivered. So they're not all the same chicks at once. They're not. So I said, okay, Emma, we'll get these now. They didn't have a lot because it was Easter, and the feed guy said, well, it's Easter Day. Not that a lot of people have come in and purchased eggs today, but he said, but we've, not eggs, but chickens, but we've had an onslaught this week. And I said, well, that totally makes sense. I can understand that. So, so I said, okay, Emma, let me look and see what types of chickens that we want. And I'm not saying that we can't get more. I'm just saying that I've got to look to see what's there and what I don't have to offer. You already, you guessed my number. You are really close. I will possibly be up to the 2021 mark here pretty soon. Although I heard my husband's request to not do any more because he woke up Monday, I went back down to Tuesday. They were having deliveries of chicks to Battleground, and they had several, and they actually had the biggest choices. I mean, they had tons of trough tanks full of chickies. And when I got there and I saw that some were only $1 and some were 50% off because they were getting a little bit older, I went, ha ha, score.
Yeah, that's right. Here I come.
Here I come. Exactly. But I didn't know that because it's decided upon store. So I thought I was going down to maybe buy 5 more because that could fit into my budget. And nope. We have 18, guys. 18. No, Irene, it's not funny. Actually, it is. I'm glad that Roberta guessed. Yes, although I knew exactly what I was buying because I got one of each kind of chick that I wanted. So there are lots. So out of that bunch, I only have 2 that have the same kind. So I have, out of all the chickens, I have 2 that have 2 pair each. And otherwise, nope, it's all different. They are all different. Now, problem is they're all babies right now, so half of them look the same. But
And half of them could be roosters.
And no, they say a 90% chance. And if you say that many roosters, I'm going to be really sad because they said that they would. And from what I understood, that they hold off a little bit. They get their chicks a little bit later in the door so that you won't have them. But my husband wakes up. I've gone, I've taken the chicks, I've gotten them all settled. My husband wakes up because he's working the night shift. And he comes in and he says, now, how many chickens did you get? I said, he comes back around. Oh, wait, no, I'm trying to do 2 things at once. There's important details to this part of the story. I hear, oh, look at all you. Oh, you're so cute. That's so great. Oh, you can hear him cheeping away to them in his adult cheep voice. And I'm like, oh, I've got him suckered in now. So I'm thinking, and he comes around the corner, he puts his hand on his hip, and he puts another hand out forward and says, how many chicks did you get? As he looks at me and tilts his head as far forward as he can put his neck. I went, well, I guess I'm in trouble anyways. So I said, well, not too bad, honey. There's 17. And then he walks back and he goes, there are 18. There are 18 chicks. I just counted. So I couldn't jump ahead and trick him at all. No, I could not. Okay, this is our next background. And as you saw, I was just finishing up cleaning all these nice things off so that they would fit in nicely into there. I'm glad that I used my ruler before it dried too much and wouldn't lay flat. On this page, this part goes really fast. The pockets definitely do make a difference in how long these take. But here is the one house, and this one does not have the buttons, but you'll want to, if you didn't cut some of them off earlier, you're going to want to cut off a couple of buttons, this little house, and this little thankful piece. And the other one that you're going to want to do is grab a section of that background that I showed you here. And I use this little one right here on top. I 3D cut them out. So anything that hung down, I cut out. If it was too fine, if you notice here, I left the little dots of flowers off there. They're not there on my little piece. You can't get a straight cut and it just won't look as pretty. So instead, I just cut out any of the leaves that gave me enough space that wouldn't be too fine to cut out. And up above, the only thing that I did cut out was the little house itself, the little top ridge there, and that was it. I don't know if you can see it now that I have it in the way, but so just like that. Bear with me, guys, because I had to go and pull one of our kits to be able to show you where the pictures came from. Otherwise, I could have just shown you the pictures of the papers that I had and said, I think I cut it out of this page. See the hole right there? That sort of kind of fits. And I didn't think that that was very fair. So on this side, I went and my goal was to take this little guy, make sure that he's right side up for us still. Yep. Take and I put him a little ways over onto the leafy green over here. And you just want to glue around a little bit of your section. You do not want it all glued. That's key right there. That's key. And so the reason why is that you're going to want to slip your picture down into the little pocket. So you just want to get around the edges because we're making our pocket out of a little straight piece. None of the fancy patterning need there. And I did do this side with this side because my house on this one was over here this time around, but on the other one, the house was on this side. So it just depended on where your house ends up, but how you cut out your pattern from before will determine what house you choose to cut. You'll definitely want to choose one side or the other, but not put it in the middle.
Mary says she likes the way you got your pockets so your pictures don't cover up the pretty papers.
Yes, I worked hard because she's absolutely right. They're beautiful. They're beautiful, beautiful pictures.
Irene says you can just tell James that's just fried chicken for later.
I don't think so. He would not possibly even think about. We've had chickens before. This isn't the first time around, but we've always been in the city, and so chickens were not something that you had regularly. Okay, well, that's okay. I didn't think this through. I probably should have shifted this one this way and put my little house on this side in this particular case because the house is on the opposite side. But I didn't think that through and it's glued down now. So I'm going to recommend that if your house is on this side, glue it over here. If your house is on this side, then stick with it and glue it over where I've just put this one. Otherwise, I'm going to have two pictures kind of right up on top of each other like this to hold in the photo. Whereas it would have been better to put this here and shifted it down this way. So that's what happens when you're just kind of going off of what you've done and you change up a print. Okay. If I haven't told somebody and you haven't figured it out by now, in meeting Emma, she is a ham. She came at it naturally. You should see some of her other pictures that she had even when she was 2 and 3 months old. She had personality galore. So ham she is. So here goes my picture. I do not want to even think about putting it down in there yet because of the idea that, and I realized that I glued those other photos to my corner circle earlier too. I may have to think about this and not do that yellow piece. I may want to do I think just due to what I've got on here, I think I'm going to change it to this. Where the house is, there's this little bird cage on the same page. Sorry. Where the house, yellow house with the yellow bird, they've got one right here. It's one of the few yellow that has a lot of focus on yellow. This page seemed to have a lot of those. So anyways, we had a chicken that a chick that was one of our smaller guys, and chickens will be chickens, and so sometimes that means that they might not be very nice to each other. And so when we ran preschool, we had chickens, and the kids had jobs that they had that kept them still clean because there would have been a health issue with the salmonella. But they would create like little bowls of feed, or take and put we would have them have some fruit that they could toss in sometimes. My mom said that her friend does frozen blueberries for hers, and that they love them. And I had never thought about freezing them during the summertime. That would have been nice from living in Walla Walla. But we always had something for them to do because we felt like it was important for the kids to learn how to take care of pets. Well, in the same like kind, it also meant that my husband, one of the chicks was starting to be pecked pretty regularly, and we pulled him out, and we her out, and we took good care of her, got her all healed up. There was nothing wrong. Took her to the vet just to make sure she's safe to be put back in. And they felt like it was a good time to do it. And I said, okay, well, so long as you think that it's okay. And the next morning when we put her in, the next morning we came out, and she was not going to be okay. And my husband cried and cried about that little chicken, and having to put the chicken down. And you don't pay a vet bill for, number one, most people wouldn't pay a vet bill for the chicken to begin with, as Bryce shakes his head no.
Find a vet even.
But in this particular case, he couldn't. So we had to ask the neighbor next door, who liked to hunt and things, and he had no problem in putting the chicken down. But my husband couldn't. So I do not foresee any fried chicken in the near future.
No, I say not.
And the kind of birds that we got, most of them wouldn't be good eating birds anyways.
How they make stew.
They make stew. Great. No,
Chicken
can't do
soup.
it. Chicken soup. No.
Chicken noodle soup.
I'll let you know, and you can come make as many of the things that don't go right with a chicken, and they become non-eggers. We'll just be retiring them to the area that is the non-egger group. Okay, so we're a little
What
pushover.
about feed the coyotes?
I was reading some of your notes. uh, anyways, okay, so this one I'm not going to slide in, but I've left this whole little flap as I was telling the story. I left this whole little flap I've glued to here and across the top here, and that will help latch it in. So if I slide it into my pocket here and then slide it, just gingerly lift, it will hold it into place. But then you can always take and change it out to a different picture if you want to along the way. All right, so we are done with that page, and we do not have many more to go. All righty, so here's our next background. It has the book on it. I did not do a lot of fanciness with this. I thought that the picture was just cute the way that it was. I cut it down a little bit so you can still see the clock and things like that over here. But I did have to cut it down enough to where it's not, this kind of was an open space. So I felt like I could get away with not only putting the picture up, so I'm not missing out on the background picture. And this is in the regular specialty 12 by 12. It's not the background pattern paper. That's why it's got the really pretty cut around it. I mean, pictures all the way around it. Anytime that you're going to see one of those big pictures, for the most part, it means that it's that it is one of the 12 by 12 specialty pack, not the pattern. I think I'm just going to cut a little bit off of this one. And if I didn't say, Lily is a different kind of ham, but she is also a big ham too. And in the next page, you will see how much of a ham she can be. Oh, wait, a big ham. Okay, so this one, I'm going to take a plan in putting the picture, I think I'm going to put it right about here. So I've got quite a bit of space to be able to glue down and still have a nice set of good area covered. So I'm going to take advantage of the space that I have and go with right along there. I did think about the idea that, oh, well, if there's purple flowers, maybe I should not do it on this page, but I really liked the clock with the books and I wanted to bring it into the same area. And right across from there is a lot of yellow flowers. So purple and yellows go very nicely together. And this is what I did with my little buttons. I put one down and a little bit behind the picture. So when I decided on where I wanted my picture to slide into, I put it a little bit behind and I glued that one completely down. And you'll want to have a good idea of where you want your picture to sit. So and then with this one, I used a foamy. And of course, let me guess, I'm not going to know Let me see if I even can find a foamy. This is some of our taller foamy.
Mary R says, do you have to take chicks to a vet, or does the vet come to you?
Oh, well, in the city, I went to the local vet that did husbandry. I think that's what it's called when it's actual farm work. Farm vet.
Sounds familiar.
But we lived kind of on the outskirts, so the vet was not scared to look at my chicken.
Right.
And we had other animals, and they knew how much we loved our other animals, so I think he was used to us by then. But I think that most people that have pets love their pets.
Mm-hmm.
And you take your goats, or does he come here to visit?
We normally take our goat to the vet, which is down south out in the country, to find a vet who does farm animals.
Yeah.
However, he will been to the house twice to help deal with goats. When we were in, a couple times we just had issues where we couldn't transport the goat. They were too sick, so
yeah,
they came to the house and helped.
So I've just taken and put that little foamy right on the button, and then it holds it in, so you can slide right in between the two. And this also gives you enough space to have a bigger picture at any point in time. And you can always remove the foamy, and you've got this much space to actually, if you want to move that button and put a new foamy on it, the back end of it, you can move it all the way to the other side and still have a bigger picture. So lots of fun ways to do that. Flip it on over. Okay. I'm not sure why I have this piece. Oh, maybe yeah, I'm not sure why I have that extra piece. No, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Okay. So all of the papers for this one are set up with the little birds with the purple flowers. They all are kind of all over the page. It's not to be mistaken for the one that's the stripedy flowers all the way down. This is a separate background piece. What's on the other side is our white fence. And in this case, I made just a regular, I used my pack and I used my, let's see, where is it? My 2 1/4 by 4 inches. And I just found one of the little birds. I did my little pattern around, cut him out. So this case, it would be kind of the same thing. Try and get low enough to where when you do fold up your bird, you'll still be able to see some of the flowers to make them pretty. So go down as far as you can. But I wanted to show you front and back, and I wanted to make sure that I covered that so that you could see what it looked like. And the whole back is just fence. So you'll recognize it when you see it. And it is in the patterns and backgrounds piece. Let me use the right one at the right time. Okay, so I'm going to do my little score lines here. A little bit further. There we go. Okay, and I have this little joy house that I cut out. This is pages dedicated to purple. That's all I can say. I'm going to try and see which one it came from. It came from the one from our first birds on the first page with the blackberries and the little circular bird. It's right here. Oh, you got it painted, Thelma? Oh, I'm so glad. It takes a little bit of time to make that. It takes a little bit of time to paint it. And Thelma, you were here from the very get-go, so you know, if you want the shabby chic, put your paint pages together a little too soon and you'll have a lovely shabby chic. I really truly did. I went, nope, I like it. It stayed the way that it is. Never would have thought of it. Never in a million years would I have thought of it. And I probably would have been too perfectionist to not have worried about, well, am I making the brown where it's supposed to go? Or I worry too much sometimes, I think. Okay. Now.
I'm going to let you finish up.
Okay. You've got dinner. Thank you, Bryce, for hanging out with me some extra. This one I chose. I knew exactly what I was going to do with it. I was going to make a bookmark. And so I've just have cut right here. It's still that same camera aspect ratio for a digital camera. This is what you get when you hand cut it instead of trim. A little bit more crooked. That's okay. Okay, so what I want to do with my bookmark is I'm going to put it in my pocket this way. And the reason why I chose to do it that way, and this one's a little bit wider than my pocket. So for this particular item, because I knew that I was going to be cutting it down just a little bit more, I wanted a little bit more to show on my last one. So when I did the bookmark, I just basically took a few of my different birds. Here's where I cut out my bird from one of the backgrounds with the blackberries. There's one that's just all blackberries, like what we used for the first page. And remember when I said this paper is the one that we used for the handle, and I said there's a little bit out because I used one of my birds for the blackberries for it. And so I used this bird this time. Last time I used this bird, but I used just a little one to cut them out. Yes, I think that it would make a really pretty bunting. You are right. So in this particular case, I cut out this little bird. I took this bird from one of the A4 cutouts. Where is he? It must have been in one of the sheets that I put away and just hadn't noticed. I set him off to the side back here, thinking that I didn't have him on here. So you can choose any of them, really. There's lots of purples in here. There's this little bird. I could have used the blackberry here instead of cutting one out in my paper. I think it's just about choices. What do you want? What do you want to have on it? Right there is this one that I cut. And then I used this little bird and I cut him right here. You can see right here. At the very top, I cut him out off the top. So when I make my bookmark, I wanted to make it so that it was a little bit narrower, but also that my wood was not going sideways. I didn't like it horizontal when I did it last time. And so this time I went, okay, I'm going to do this a little bit differently. So So that is my new country story for now. I'm sure that there will be more later. Other than the fact that it snowed yesterday, which is still amazing to me. So here I've got a little bit of the wood. I want to make sure that it's going to fit and slide in nicely because it is narrow. And then I'm just going to take and figure out what is going to fit best. So, is this really going to fit in here? I don't know. It's looking like it might not. So maybe I just want maybe I just want one little bird. It'll go very nice with this little bird. And you may ask why I'm even doing it with a bookmark and having it faced on the inside. And it's because of the fact that the picture would have taken a lot to cover up the picture. I was afraid that this picture is very specific with the two girls, and I knew that I could cut it thin or I could cut it wide, but I felt like it would be a distraction. And since I wanted it the longest that I could make it, I chose to go ahead and do it with a thinner piece. And because of the thinner and the towel, I thought, well, that'll make a perfect bookmark. And then I won't have it distracting on this really pretty tranquil picture. And I did cover up my little bird. I felt like it fit well to go ahead and cover up the little bird, but you do keep in mind you have all this to fit. And since I made the picture smaller, that's great, but it still has to stay way down here in order for me to keep the height and length of my bookmark. So I'm going to go ahead and put it over the top. Because I feel like that's just one more, too many things. Oh, the gilding paste. Yes. So I have to be really careful when I'm doing pictures because I think all of these great things too. And so I'm so glad that you guys think about these things and say them, because I have to make them with what I know that everybody, what we offer within the kit. Kind of like how I explained the cardboard or the cardstock earlier using just plain white cardstock. And so with that, taking that time to make sure that we don't add anything extra that somebody may not have, because that would be really, really sad if somebody wanted to do something but they didn't have the item and we didn't provide it. So we really try hard to make sure that we provide anything that is a specialty item. Kind of anybody that does paper crafting has glue and and some cardstock at home. So but not the pretty cardstock. So see, we had to include as much of the pretty stuff as we could. I may just decide to do something different with this. I don't know. I think I want to keep it as is without the little house on there. Maybe not. You tell me. What do you think? I think that it just sits very pretty just like that. So I would normally glue this onto back here just like that. And then that way it's got a little pretty edge all the way around it with the birds. See, because I cut it from the fence, right? The white fence. But then it's not so distracting. So you can see how if I put it in this way, oh, didn't hold it long enough on the bottom again. It's a good thing that you guys are seeing this because now you know how to fix it. Except for in this case, I think it's going to be narrow enough that we'll have to lay it flat. What happens is that if I put too much glue on it, it ripples just like it would on the box when you have a brayer. So you're basically using that, or in this case, I use the ruler. It helps keep it to pop it out, so then it will slide in all the way. And also, when we did this last time, it seemed like as soon as I put the photo on the back of it and I glued it on, it just slid right into place. Yeah, it should go all the way down. There we go. Just need to be patient with it. So you could technically put a little hole punch in here if you wanted to and have it be a little swing tag or a little brad on the side like that. So you could do that if you wanted to. I think I'm just going to leave it as is, but there's lots of different ways that you can do that. And I think that I still may add a couple of little birds on it just to give it a little bit of extra. I don't know. I'm going to slide it right on in there and hope that it give me the opportunity to think on it, because thinking about things when I change something, that takes a little bit of commitment. Okay. So we are down to our last two, and this one is probably one of the easiest ones we've got. And in this particular case, I can't completely show you because I can't completely show you everything because I glued in the photo for this one in the actual album. And you could probably create it to where you just had it set up a little differently, where you didn't glue it on, but I wanted to keep it in place. So I glued this down like this. And look, I've already cut it crooked. This one will really tell if I don't cut it straight. Bear with me, guys. So this one, I did have it as a 4x6. And keep in mind that if they are 6, it's going to come all the way from top to bottom because it is a 6-inch height. And all that I did on this little guy was I scored, here we go. It says hello on it. And it is one of the items that is it is one from the A4 pack. It's one of the pages, and I think that it's the only page where all of the items are little European A6 sizes. So I've scored just the little corner, and I'm going to fold it up. And the reason why I'm folding it up instead of in is because I'm going to use it like a book. And this really let me do this with this paper because it's so pretty and it goes so nicely together that I thought I don't want to see a picture, but I also don't want to I don't want to make a pocket because the pocket would be pretty big. So that is what I've done. So you just glue down the one side. And I really encourage you to score it. You don't have to necessarily fold it up right until after you've glued it down. And in most cases, that's what I did was I scored it and then laid it out like this without bending it upwards until after I had glued it, so that I could see, was it where I wanted it to be? Is it where it should be? And then with the other one, I glued the page in behind that little strip. So if you want a permanent, if you don't, use some corners. Think of a picture that you can have that you want to use for little triangles, and you can put little triangles in and hold it into place, and then you can always replace it with another little picture that's similar. So for this little one, it's just hello and see what I say by Ham. She just loves to have her picture taken just as much as the older one does. Emma is bad enough that she will sit there and look in the mirror while talking to you to say, hi, so and so and so and so on. So I found that to be very humorous. And now we're having to, because she's getting older, and so we're trying to teach her humility. And she's getting the humility, it needs some practice. So we have to say, quit looking in the mirror. And we've been telling her this for forever. Please look at us with your eyeballs and talk to us. Don't look in the mirror to show me what it is, the face that you're trying to make or what you think that you're looking like. And speaking of hams, here's the next one. Okay, this pocket is the one pocket that I made that I used the bird big pocket. So it's 6 1/4 by 4 1/8. And it fits very nicely on here, but it definitely takes up the full page, which was what I planned on. It was a very plain piece in the back, but I felt like it worked so well with this other piece over here. It seemed to blend well. I had a good background piece. So this is from Specialty Paper, and this is from the Specialty 12 by 12 pack. So it comes with both of them. I'm going to use my flat side. And then this way on the bottom, with such a big one, you definitely want to make sure that you line up your line just right. Take your pocket. The piece that I used for the one that said bless our nest, that I told you was a piece that I used for the paper. Yeah, for the one on my original page, this piece right here, this is part of this same pack, so of paper. So it's on that same sheet of 12 by 12. So all I did was I took the piece that I could use out of it from an upper area and use that as my part for the other tag. I really want to use this little bird somewhere. He's so pretty. Okay, so this is our last one. I left the the last page open. And I did that because it's just such a pretty picture. It is full. There's no place for me to have it in this. Otherwise, I could have saved it and used it for a card piece. I used a portion of the leftover for its piece of binding. I kind of ventured out there a little bit when I was doing this because I did not have the pictures from my book, and I wanted it to be here to be able to show you guys for Saturday. 90 ZP. Got it, Mary. Thank you, Mary R. It's always nice to hear when Gemma is acting out. My dog does it all the time. And I know yours is a cat, but I think that sometimes poodles fall in that same category. Okay, so the other thing that I have on this piece is today is a good day, and this is on our sayings section. And this is just saying today is a good day to have a good day. And I always appreciate it when, and I think of Emma when this happens, because I'm always telling her when she's having a rough day, hey, turn it around. And today is a good day to have a good day. And I don't say it exactly like that, but I like this verbiage. So I'm going to continue using it. But I say something very similar, which is, hey, you can choose to have a good day. It doesn't have to be a bad day just because it starts out not so good. You can always have a good day. You get to choose. Okay. So here's our pocket. And when I made this piece, when I made this picture, I could have put a backing on it, but I decided that I didn't want to do the backing. And to be honest, the main reason was I didn't want to cut into any more of the papers that I had. I wanted to be able to use them as extras. But I also have some papers that would work just as well to have for the back. And I cut, and she fits truly just the way that she is in there, but in order to make it easy to lift, I'm still going to have to at least add a tab to the outside. So I'm going to take, and here's my piece of fencing that we haven't used. So I think I'm going to just take this little extra piece because it's handy. Nope, I'm going to use this extra piece because it's handy. And I think that's a better choice because there's nothing on the back that really stands out. So it's the same thing as what we did with the other one that you're going to hide behind. So if I was gluing this picture and I'm just going to use the tab, I'm going to glue that side just because of how the picture was. She's more to one side than the other. I had to cut it up close. There was actually a couple of kids that were playing in the background and they were a little distracting. So I tried to trim it up as close as I could. And then I used my fun little camera features that allowed me to erase the people in the background. They just basically take some of the picture from around it and put it in its place. And you never notice. You have no idea how great those things actually work until you've tried it. And I used to do it frequently in some of the other work that I did. I had a great, back when Printmaster existed and was on CD format, and it actually had one that you could run it in circles and it would kind of mix the curls that were the things that were around it, and you would never know that there was something there other than the background color. It was great. But in this particular case, I would just glue this to the front because of how that picture is. If I had a little bit more from the back side, then I would put it on the back. And then this also just slides right on in like the other one did. And by now, we've probably tricked the people into nope, didn't wait long enough. We can't trick the people anymore using the book, because now they'll know that by now that these are tabs. And it just goes right on in. And then our last piece, I went ahead and I felt like, since I'd zoomed in on the basket with all the pretty flowers, that the teapot, coffee pot, I think is really what it is. It doesn't fit as well in here. So instead, I just kind of took my seine and put it right over the top. And you could technically make this a little bit of a bigger envelope if you wanted to, but I was really trying to make sure that I fit everybody's stuff on a page. Okay, guys, so this is the last little bit, and I'm not going to take long at it. You can now, since you've already cut your patterns and you've made your big pieces into cardstock pieces, you can take and you can cut your little bird out of the middle of this piece. You can always photocopy this to keep this in your patterns book too at any point in time. So with this, you're going to take your bird, cut him out, nice black and white. I put him on my page because we are done with all the pages now, and we're just going to go through and do the front. This one, I feel like the bird is too busy to be on here. Just too busy to be on there. But I did like him when I had the lighter colored bird. So it just is going to depend on what you like and what you have that you would want to put on. So this just kind of becomes a preference. That's what it looks like on this one. But I've given you the pattern. That's what that one looks like on that one. If you want the pattern, it's there. I went through and carefully, you could have used your cover and made one yourself, but I felt like that was a harder way to go at it, and it would have taken a really long time. But basically, you're going to take your blossom paper. It's this page that is beautiful and full. We used a little bit of it from the for edging. It looks like this. It's one of your backgrounds and pattern pieces. So it looks like that. We use the leaves for some of our binding. You're going to just take and bear with me. Sorry, guys. I got to look for the part that I need. I know that we just had it earlier. I know it was here. There it is. So here's our little guy on my cardstock. I saved him because I already had him cut out. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your little blossom, figure out where you want yours to sit at, what colors you want to have in yours. I used it with a piece of my foam, and then I used the X-Acto knife. It's a little tiny pen knife. It is so very, let me come back your direction. It is so very fine and little. It doesn't take a lot of pressure. It's very sharp. And I just went through and I kept my bird down by tacking it in a couple of places very gently and tenderly with paper with a little bit of that temporary glue, not permanent glue. And I held my stencil down, and all you're going to do is cut out the black sections of the bird. So everywhere where I've given you in the black sections right here, the eye is not one of them. You have to actually draw a little eye onto your guy or else he doesn't look right. So you got to put that little eyeball on him. But anywhere where there's black otherwise, you just cut out those areas, and this little knife does it all. I cut everything with him. It's a nice, clean, beautiful cut. I really did like it a lot, and it worked really well. So that is my bird and how to use your bird in case you want to use him on your front cover. I just thought it was an extra pretty piece. And you just run on through. And the good news is that you're just going to glue this right onto here. And so when you do glue it, it will line up and glue on and lay very nice and flat. You can always run your X-Acto knife after you're done gluing it into any of these areas and open it up a little bit more if you need to, which is exactly what I did here. So when I got to the point of being ready to glue it on, then I ran, because you've now got a little bit of a surface layer, right through here to get anything extra. Or you can take one of your ball tools, the one that's really pointy, even your pointy piece, and you can run it along just like we did with the holes. By pushing that in, it just glues in and around so that it will be less likely to pop up. So you got a couple of different ways on how to adhere that and to use it if you so choose. And then the last part that I'm going to cover, and then that is it, guys. We are done. Thank you for those that wanted to stay and keep watching. I sent a yard of light blue ribbon. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put and do your laces from the front to the back, and then just even it out all the way. I'm just going to pull that back, make them even. The reason why I need fabric scissors is what I need here. And I forgot to grab them today. But basically, because this is wider than the holes, and it does hold and will uphold your book very nicely, I just took and I twisted, because you will have extra. So I just twisted it around and then just used some of my masking tape and wrapped it up and used that almost like a shoestring lace to put it through the hole. And then you're just going to take your two pieces, and amazingly enough, you don't really have to be worried about getting it too tight or too loose. It seems to hold quite nicely. I do recommend that you at least keep your book even. So if this side is sitting up a little bit more, pull some of that through so that it also sits up a little bit. And believe it or not, I fiddled with this in lots of different ways, and I decided what is the easiest way that I can do this and it come out looking really pretty. So you just slide them back through the hole and you tie your bow like you would any regular bow. Don't pull tight. You want to leave it on this side of your item, but you're just going to take and make your knot, like you would have, like you're going to tie your shoes. Do it the exact same way. And the bow holds itself in place because it's then pulls, as you open and shut the book, this goes this way with the book. So it won't get lost. It won't ever come undone. It just holds right behind there, and you don't have to worry about, well, did it slip? Did I do it just the way that, what happens if I've tightened it too tight? Well, that's great. You now have the opportunity to really easily just tie it and you're done. So that is it. I have done and covered everything with you that you might need. Pictures are up online on the storefront. If you want to save those pictures, you will always be able to have YouTube. But if you want to save those pictures, when the kit is sold out, it comes off the storefront. So if you think that this is something that you want to do and that you want to have, absolutely, both the background, how to apply the background pictures are shown for each page in order, and also the completed item for each page is also now up online. I put it on this afternoon. So had to double check to make sure that it worked, because at first it wasn't wanting to. So spent a little bit of time fixing it, and now it is up and you can see it and use it. Print them out if you feel like you want to keep them for later, because this kit will sell out quickly. So thank you so very much. I hope that you have a great rest of your night. Thank you for sticking with me, those crazy people that are staying up late, and thank you very much, and have a great rest of your night and weekend. And someone had already said it, but just in case, this Saturday we will not be having a class with Debbie. So next Thursday you will have a class with Debbie, and she'll be able to show you on Wednesday what she is doing. I believe that she has a plan in place. I know we wrote it down. I know we covered it, and it's my fault for not looking before I sat down. So thank you so very much. Have a good rest of your night.